What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. BC coming at you in the midst of 13 hours of straight travel. But there was no way we weren't going to talk Monday Night Raw for 9/30/2024, the go-home show to Bad Blood. And while this will not go down as one of the greatest Raws in history, it absolutely was a complete show with a complete main event that was worthy of main event status. The match, what happened in the match, the finish of the match, a big return leading to questions we actually want answers to. What a concept. We got it last night. We're going to talk that main event. Two exceptional promos in last night's show. Two promos that actually sold their pay-per-view premium live event matchups this Saturday. That is a lost art in pro wrestling. But last night, two promos that actually got me more anticipating these matchups. We'll talk about what those two promos were and what they did for their matchups this Saturday. We're also going to talk a big heel turn, a teased heel turn, and a subsequent face turn last night. A lot of turning every which way you looked. A new superstar was turning the other direction. We'll talk about these turns, if it makes sense. Is it going to do anything? It's all coming up in this abbreviated Monday Night Raw review, 9/30/2024. And because we don't have a lot of time for this review, I don't want to waste any time. Let's jump right into the main event. Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman. These two individuals every week, it's like a tornado meeting a hurricane. You decide which is which. But every single week, these two are destroying everything and everybody in their path. Whether it's around ringside, in gorilla position, the corridors, locker room, parking lot, it doesn't matter. It's being destroyed. The problem now that WWE has, and it's a good problem to have, is how do you keep elevating that every week? If you're going to parade this tornado and hurricane together out there every single week, you have to keep elevating your story. How do you keep going further and moving those goalposts? Last night, they did the ultimate ring-breaking scenario. The suplex. We've seen it so many times. I think Mark Henry did it with Big Show. I know Brock Lesnar did it with Big Show. And last night, they did it with Bronson Reed, suplexing Braun Strowman from the top rope. The whole ring collapsing. Referee flies to the outside. I think some security that was out there passed out in the middle of the ring. The scene was awesome. I love when they do that. As long as you don't do it too much, and as long as it's used in the right situation, the right scenario, with the right individuals, I don't mind this at all. Last night was perfect, and let's be honest, for weeks now we've been kind of anticipating that, right? For weeks they've been teasing it, but they haven't given it to us. This was one of those scenarios you kind of had to smash. Like Wreck-It Ralph versus Wreck-It Ralph. That's what Bronson and Braun is. Well, last night they just had to smash that one last piece of furniture, the actual ring. And that's what they did. And by the way, even before that, smashing tables, jumping off of platforms into electrical tables. Braun Strowman at one point got to the top rope and dive bomb, splash from the top rope onto the outside, onto Bronson Reed and about 20 other officials in security. Braun Strowman looking like a luchador for a second. And then it all culminated to that final spot, that suplex. The entire ring, the post, everything just imploding. I love that spot when it's done correctly. Last night it was done correctly. And the finish, everybody was saved, because when that happened, the first thing BC thought was none of these dudes can lose now, unless it's done brilliantly, where the match winner and match loser is not even on anybody's dome piece. But you would have to do it beautifully and damn near flawless. They did that. They brought back Seth Rollins for that finish. And Seth Rollins, by the way, he didn't look like any type of a joker or a clown. He didn't raid Becky Lynch's closet. Seth Rollins looked like Tyler Black from back in the day. He looked like old school Seth Rollins, ready for business. They didn't even have the sing-along. They kept the song out of it. It was just Seth Rollins showing up, delivering a stomp to Bronson Reed's mug straight into the steel steps that were in the ring. That was badass. And Bronson Reed could not finish, but nobody's talking about the winner or the loser. They're talking about everything that happened in that match. They're talking about that ring imploding. They're talking about Seth Rollins returning. It's a simplistic, but it is a cliffhanger nonetheless. It leaves you more anticipating next week's Raw than most weeks give us or allow us to anticipate. Last night, we now have questions. How are they going to insert Seth some more? Is Bronson going to turn that Fury, that Wreck-It Ralph status now to Seth Rollins? Is he done with Braun Strowman? All these interesting topics. Is this new Seth Rollins, which is the old school Seth Rollins, is that going to stick around? Or is that sing-along clown type Seth, is he going to return next week? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I'm just glad we can ask them. I'm glad Raw went off the air in a good way. A simplistic cliffhanger. We have questions we care about. Damn, that's all we ever ask for. A main event that is main event worthy. It belongs in the main event, and enough time and attention and care got put into the main event. Resources, too. A lot of thought goes into this. You got to deliver these stunts flawlessly with everything that was done. This is what you call a stunt match, especially with those two, the size of them. Everything has to be worked out flawlessly. You go back to that ring imploding. That was rehearsed several times without the ring actually imploding, obviously. But that was rehearsed several times. Look at where the referee was. Look at where those security guards or whatever, the dudes in black that passed out when the ring imploded. And they pretty much died right there for the next 16 minutes. But look where everybody was positioned, everything. It was down to a T perfection. So it was well thought out, well rehearsed. That's all I ask for. It's a main event on a 3-hour television show. Act like it. That was so freaking good. And it was long overdue. That is how you end a 3-hour television show. Props to those two dudes. Props to everybody involved, the writers, Hunter Hearst Helmsley for approving that. So well done. I could not speak more praise on that main event. Can't wait to see what they do going forward. Bronson and Braun, and now Seth Rollins intertwined. That wasn't the only thing I liked last night, man. There was two promos that knocked it out of the park. I'm going to start with CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is out there in all black, CM Punk in all white, even his pants. I could not help but think back to WrestleMania 25. Taker all black, Shawn Michaels in all white, and it just fit, right? Like, just in their wardrobe alone, you knew you were viewing something special, right? That was not done by accident, no coincidence. That was well thought out. And just like last night, you have Drew in all black, and Punk is in all white. Drew is delivering one of his promos of a career, and Punk is saying nothing. Not until Drew went to turn around and get out of the ring, then Punk grabs a microphone, and Punk starts to deliver one of his best promos in a very long time. It doesn't need to be, nor was it a pipe bomb. This was a vivid, face-to-face promo, talking about how he hasn't even been able to go home the last month. He's been living in hotels because he doesn't want AJ Lee to see the man that he has become until he destroys Drew McIntyre. Just so well done. Both dudes bringing everything they have yet again, which is helping to make it one of, if not the best feud in pro wrestling in 2024. It's right up there with a Hangman Page Swerve, and maybe you guys got another feud or two. That would be in maybe the top 3, 4, or 5 in contention. But easily, this could be feud of the year if it was all to end right now. So Drew and CM Punk selling their Hell in a Cell matchup Saturday. Never mind everything they've already done the last several months. This one promo has you looking forward, not to what they've done in the past, all of their matchups, leather strap matchups, beating the hell out of one another, costing each other matchups and championships. That's all in the past. This promo has you looking forward to Hell in a Cell. It was so well done. And that's what I miss when promos, face-to-faces. And you didn't even need physicality, by the way, which there was none with these two. No physicality, not even needed. Because we've seen that for months between these two. Just tell your story. Get us hooked. And it's going to make that matchup coming up 10 times better. And that's exactly what they did. I cannot praise that more than I am right now. And there was a second promo last night, face-to-face promo, that sold their matchup as well. And that's Gunther and Sami Zayn. Gunther has been prolonging saying yes to Sami's request for a title matchup, and it has been so well done. When it's done right, it's exceptional in pro wrestling. It's a simplistic storyline, right? This dude wants this matchup. Sometimes it's not even for a title, and usually it's the bad guy, the heel, saying absolutely not. No, you're not in my league. You're not on my level. And if you drag it out and it's with the right people, it's so damn good. And that's what this has been with Gunther and Sami Zayn. I've actually been enjoying this a lot more than I did their IC title feud. Gunther telling Sami Zayn, my family was there at WrestleMania too, like yours. But you decided to parade yours around. I didn't need to do that. See, that's the difference, Sami. Your family expects nothing from you. My family expects everything from me. So he talked about letting his father down. He didn't mind losing to anybody that championship that was worthy, but losing to Sami Zayn was embarrassing and something that he still has not gotten over. So Sami Zayn said, that's what you did. You crumbled. When I lose something big, a big matchup, a big opportunity, I pick myself up, dust myself off, and trudge forward. You crumbled when you lost that IC title. You disappeared for months, all because Daddy was disappointed in you. It was so well done. You could tell for the first time. Gunther actually had somebody get to him word-wise. Gunther was now off his game a little bit. This did lead to physicality, by the way. Which would lead to a Gunther bomb. Sami Zayn was knocked out. I would say looking up at the lights, but the dude was seeing stars. And Gunther then accepted the challenge. I believe, guys, I was so wrapped up in that, doing some notes, I believe that's for Bad Blood. Knowing WWE, they could always put that on a Monday Night Raw, but I believe that's for Saturday. But either way, that was so well done, drawn out, it was done exceptionally. Sometimes that's done and it loses interest for a lot of fans, right? It's just like, get to the point. Just say yes. Nobody cares. But whether you liked it or not, that's your prerogative. But if it was good or bad, this was absolutely done beautifully. So those were two exceptional face-to-face promos last night that sold their upcoming matchups. Mad props to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Mad props to Sami Zayn and Gunther. And again, you got to give Hunter Hearst Helmsley credit as well for approving those segments. And then were all the turns last night. Basically a face turn, a legit heel turn, and the continuation, in the process, downloading of a heel turn, right? We'll start with Miz. Miz turning on R-Truth. They were in a tag match with AOP. This does a few things. Obviously, it finally gives Miz a new direction, which was sorely needed for the longest time. And it also gives AOP a massive W, which has been sorely needed for a long time. Now, I'm not saying you're going to remember this victory, but it's the start of something for AOP. Karrion Kross. If they decide to keep them together or split them up in the future, a W is a W, and it starts the process of making people look at AOP as actual badasses. Winners, not losers. Back over to Miz. This heel turn obviously is needed. Miz and R-Truth were doing nothing together. They won tag titles at WrestleMania. You either forgot about it or you just don't care about it to this day. They needed a new direction. Even when they won the titles, I think they maybe had one tag defense. Defended the tag titles maybe once, and they lost them on that title defense, or maybe it was their second time. But basically, they weren't even defending the titles. They were in backstage comedy segments. It was done. We like R-Truth. Most of us, anyway, we like The Miz. But this is just not entertaining anymore. It's not fun. So they turned Miz last night. A kick to the dome piece of R-Truth, and then he left the dude out to dry. Get his ass whooped and defeated by AOP. Now that's the good news, right? New direction, a heel turn keeps the show fresh, right? Anything can happen. Oh, damn, a heel turn. The bad news is, I feel we lean on this a little too much under Hunter Hearst Helmsley's era. Every time they don't have something for somebody, no direction, they just turn everybody. And by the way, a lot of these turns are not even impactful, right? It's just, we don't have anything for them. There's no plans. Let's just turn the individual. But when you do that with no impact, they're not going to be meaningful. And they're not going to have any substance behind it. So nobody's going to care. And when you do it all the time, like last night, 3 turns in one show, well, your audience is just going to become accustomed to it. It's just going to, you're going to take something that is special in pro wrestling, like the turn, and you're going to make it just redundant. It's going to be like, oh yeah, another turn. Hey, did you see the 4 turns last night? I mean, we laugh, we say it's not going to get to that point, but we saw 3 last night. So Miz kicking R-Truth upside the dome piece. Yes, something new was needed for Miz, but we've already seen the dude a heel 46 times. We've seen him a face 34 times. Has it really done anything for Miz, turning a heel and a face over 80 times? The answer is rhetorically no. So this time has to have more substance. But turning people just to turn them is never a good idea. I use this example for weeks now, right? Damage Control was heels. Sonya's group showed up. They were heels. They beat up the heels Damage Control. So that made Damage Control quietly, all of a sudden, faces. And now they're just taking on other faces, Jade and Bianca. Well, then why turn them faces if they're just gonna face faces? Hopefully I'm not confusing you, but the point is, Damage Control just turned so oddly and quietly faces for no reason, other than Hunter had nothing for them. So I hope that makes sense. You can't just turn people just because. It has to be impactful, the actual turn, and there has to be a plan to subsequently go along with it. Hopefully that makes sense. So this Miz thing could be good. It's good for him to separate from R-Truth. It's a new beginning. The problem is it's a beginning we've already seen so many times. So this has to be different. It has to be better. But I'm on board with it. I just hope they have a plan. Miz turns on Truth, turns heel. Now there's a heel in progress storyline going on, Xavier Woods, right? Thought this was well done. You had Kofi Kingston in there with Chad Gable last night. Xavier goes to pull the leg of Chad Gable, but it was in the middle of Kofi hitting a Trouble in Paradise. But because Xavier held Chad Gable's leg, he was hung up on the ropes, and Kofi just kind of landed on his face. So he did not hit the Trouble in Paradise. Trouble in Paradise, I can speak. More coffee, BC. He did not hit it because of Xavier. And then before you know it, that German suplex, Gable gets the 1-2-3 on Kofi. So Xavier inadvertently cost Kofi the match, but it's because he was tapping into some dastardly heel tactics, right? Holding the leg of Gable. Kofi's looking at the dude like, dude, that's the shit that Gable does. That's the shit that they all do. We're supposed to be above that, holding their legs and doing this trickery and cheatery. And Xavier's like, I'm done playing the nice guy, dude. We can't play nice anymore. So Kofi's kind of looking at Xavier with that weary eye. Xavier's looking at Kofi with the crooked eye. And this is inevitably going to lead to Xavier turning. So that was well done last night. Even better than the Miz part. And then there was a face turn last night. And this has been happening. If you've seen Bron Breakker over the weeks, Braun has been showing up, and even though he's a heel, he's been looking at the crowd and going, where's my dogs at? Obviously trying to pander to a face reaction, right? Here's some barking in the crowd. Last night, they just went all out. It was the mutual respect era. Braun comes out, tells Jey Uso, I'm not going to spear you. I'm not going to punch you. I'm here to say congratulations. The better man won. Shake my hand. Jey shakes his hand. Maybe even a little hug, something. I don't know. Mutual respect galore. And Braun literally walks away. Jey stops him for a second. And Jey says, Oos, there's definitely some dogs in the arena, and they start barking at Braun, which brings a smile to Braun's face. So that's it, guys. Braun's a face, man. That's clearly what they want to do. Take the title off of him. Stop with the heelatry. That's right, I made that word up, the heelatry. No more heel. It's Braun as the face. I think it's way too soon. He can play the role, there's no doubt. We've seen that in NXT. But is it the right time? I mean, why not just go full diabolical heel with the title, run amok, cause destruction, put your name on that map? I don't understand, especially with Rollins coming back, unless you're turning Rollins soon. I don't understand why Bron Breakker needs to be a face right now. If you're going to heighten up Jey Uso, bring back Seth Rollins. After Punk gets done with McIntyre, he's going to be elevated. So where's Bron Breakker, your 4th biggest face? And that's just if I'm missing people, by the way, too. Sami Zayn and others. So I don't understand why this needed to be done right now. The title change last week is still odd to me for a 1.4 some-odd rating. And then this week they just went all out and said, nope, dude's a face. Start barking, right? That's his new thing. Where's the dogs at? So Bron Breakker became a face last night. So a lot of turns last night. but a little bit of everything, man. Last night's Raw, whether you liked it or didn't like it, loved it or hated it, thought it was good or not, this show had a little bit of everything, and that's all we can ask for up front, right? Right from the jump, just have a complete television show. You had a couple of really good face-to-face promos to sell their PLE matchups. You had a really good main event that lived up to the stature. You had a lot of turns, which may be too many, but it definitely has people going, damn, did you see that? Did you hear about that? That dude turned? Again, it gets people talking. I'm not saying this is going to bump up the rating for this week, because I don't think a lot of people thought that much was going to happen. But this could have an effect on next week's rating, especially when they're going to have the fallout, obviously, of the PLE to help out as well. So that mixed in with a complete show this week, I'm expecting to see a big bump next week in the ratings from this week's show. That's what I got for you guys, man. I don't know how I pulled this off in the amount of time. I went a little over time, to be honest. I should have wrapped this up about 5 minutes ago, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this review, man. BC's got a lot more travel to do, but there will be more content later in the week. Stay subscribed to the channel. To my subscribers, much love and respect. To my channel members, the utmost respect. BC in the unit, saying check you.